Hi guys, we're here in LA with the amazing Lee Ritenour in his very own studio, right in the middle of an apartment block.
Yeah, yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. You wouldn't think there's a studio here, but I've had the studio here at this condo right in the middle of LA for years, and I love it. It's a good energy. It's easy to get to. A lot of people come and play here. Sometimes we do drums. We do all the mixing here.
Yeah.
Do a bunch of guitar overdubs here. Do all my pre-production work with writing music on Logic Audio and all sorts of different things. We do vocals here. We do horns here. And yet, it's a fairly, it's not a small room, but, when I did the classical album with Dave Grusin, we recorded the classical piano and classical guitar, and I was in the other room, and then we put orchestra on top of it. It worked great.
Did you also always have the studio knack as well, or, did that come?
Yeah, I've always been kind of a geek ever since I was a kid, whether it was, playing around with the first pedals that were out, and being fascinated by sounds ever since I was a kid. So then that kind of grew into the studio thing. So I got my own studio all the way as far back as 1984.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't think I could have made all these records that I made without having the help of my own studio.
No, so you recorded most of it yourself, and
well, I have an engineer named Don Murray that's quite famous, and he just won a Latin Grammy for engineering recently, and but he's done every one of my albums since 1977.
Oh, wow.
So he's on all the big stuff, when we're recording tracks and mixing and stuff. But I get around in the room by myself quite well to do all the overdubs.
So guitar-wise, how did you start out playing? Were you young?
I was 8 years old. That was a really long time ago, and I grew up in LA, and it was really a great time because it was just the beginning of the 60s there, and guitar was just coming on really big. Folk music was strong, rock was coming on strong, Hendrix was around the corner, Jeff Beck and Eric Clapton were around the corner, people like the Doors and the Byrds, and everything was kind of guitar based, and the blues thing, Canned Heat and all those kind of groups were heavy, let alone B.B. King and Albert King and all those great blues players back then. And then the jazz guitar was strong. There was Wes Montgomery and Kenny Burrell and Jim Hall and Joe Pass and Barney Kessel, and a lot of them lived out in L.A. I took lessons from Joe Pass and Barney Kessel and Howard Roberts, and
can't get much better than that, I guess.
Yeah, and I loved classical guitar as well. I was a big fan of Segovia and studied with the great classical guitarist Christopher Parkening at USC. So the guitar was, and I just got the bug for it really young, and I got really serious about it. I knew I wanted to be a pro by the time I was 12.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I did my first sessions with the Mamas and the Papas actually at 16.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, did you catch that jazz bug right from the beginning as well, or was
well, my parents were way into music, especially my dad, and there was always jazz around the house on the record player. We had a record player in those days, and
they still have the albums over here.
Yeah, absolutely, very cool too. And at my other place, we have the record player set up, and my son and I still think it sounds better. Yeah. But anyway, I was introduced to Wes Montgomery and Joe Pass and those guys I mentioned, Kenny Burrell, Jim Hall, pretty early on, and I really loved it. But then rock was coming on, and I loved the power of the rock guitar, and so I was really kind of a true fusion guy, you know. And then also what was also getting big in that time was Brazilian music, Stan Getz and Showbeam were there, and there was that nice acoustic guitar stuff with all the rhythms and great tunes and stuff. So I was pulled in many directions, and if you listen to my career as a studio musician, and then I think I'm up to this new album, Rhythm Sessions, is about 45 albums. Yeah. And I've literally been all over the map, and my fans know that you're never going to pin me down. No. So I like to rock out with the TC stuff and my boogies and my Fenders, and or pick up an acoustic guitar and just play it straight.
Yeah. And what about guitars? You're sitting with a Les Paul now, but you're known for playing the 335, I guess.
Yeah, my Dot 335 I had since I was 17, and but ever since I did the Six String Theory album, where I invited all these amazing guitar players to play with me, Gibson made me this great Les Paul, and it was just, it seemed like it showed up here at my studio the day Les Paul died, and so it's just been a really special place for me, this guitar, and it balances out my Gibson L5, which is my model from Gibson, and which is a beautiful jazz guitar. So I usually have the L5 on the road, the Les Paul, or the 335, not usually both, and then I also bring either a Roger Sadowski or in recent years the Yamaha silent guitar, which is a great little guitar, and you know, just it's inexpensive, and they sound great through my rig.
So what are the plans for now? I mean, you're really busy, obviously.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff going on for this year. More touring for promoting rhythm sessions, and there's sort of a group album that I can't talk about yet that's in play that we might do. There's a big project down in Brazil that I'm going to produce with groups from Portugal, Brazil, Mozambique, Angola, and Cape Verde.
Oh, wow.
And all countries that speak Portuguese.
Yeah.
And so that's going on. Got a big project in Japan towards the end of the year where I'm going to host a number of the great Japanese musicians melding with Western American musicians. And going to Europe twice, going to Moscow in February. It's going to be cold. And so I hope to get back to Denmark too.
Oh, I hope you will come.
Yes.
Be great. Thanks so much for taking the time for this in your busy schedule.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
All right.